what the black man and woman needs to know about the nation, about the world, about themselves. Muhammad Speaks It. To order your 12-issue subscription to Muhammad Speaks newspaper, 313-371-7033. 313-371-7033. Kareem Bean Pie is the grand champion of all bean pies. The rich flavor and smooth texture takes this pie to a whole new level of delicious. One bite and you'll understand why people all over the country call daily to order Kareem Bean Pie. 313-371-7033. That's 313-371-7033. Kareem Bean Pie.
This bean pie is delicious.
Muhammad Speaks presents Messenger Elijah Muhammad's Teachings by Minister Khalil Shabazz every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. at Muhammad's Temple of Islam, 12609 East McNichols Road in Detroit.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Soul Master's Day of Judgment in which we now live. The alone do we serve, and the alone seek for thine help and aid. O Allah, please guide us on the right path, path of those upon whom thou spell thy favors, not on the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray after they heard thy teachings. Say he Allah is one God. Allah is he of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten, there is none like him. And I bear witness that none served to be served, worship to praise besides Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is that true servant and last apostle. Ameen. We'd like to acknowledge the brothers and sisters that extended us the greetings of Assalamu Alaikum. We have Brother Stephen Cowan from Seattle. We have Christopher Carr from Detroit. We have Brother Amir from Arizona. We have Sister Nubila from Arizona. We have Captain Hakeem from Richmond. We have Brother Mustafa and Sister Sharice Ali from Ohio. We have Sister Hala from California. We have Brother Mutakabir Ali from New Jersey. We have Brother Minister Jabran Rashad from Chicago. We have Brother Abdul Ali from Maryland. And we have Brother Minister Michael Shabazz from Gary, Indiana. And Brother Yusef from Oklahoma. I'd like to say in the name of Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and in the name of his last and greatest messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'd like to greet the brothers and sisters with the Nation of Islam's greeting words of peace of Assalamu Alaikum. Today we'd like to talk about the coward Hebrew Israelite army at Barclay versus Muhammad's army. Because this is still our holy month of Ramadan, where we keep Master Farad Muhammad on our mind. Because the messenger taught us that he is our Savior and our deliverer. And if you read, I believe, it's either in the How to Eat to Live or it was in the Muhammad Speaks, where the messenger was talking about we're not supposed to quarrel during the month of Ramadan. But he said, but that don't mean if somebody attack you or try to fight with you, that means you just, oh, it's Ramadan, so we don't fight back. So we being attacked because the messenger taught us how we were supposed to handle hypocrites and disbelievers. He said, strive hard against the hypocrite and the disbeliever. Yes, he did. The messenger taught us that a hypocrite is one who say they believe, then disbelieve. That's a hypocrite. A disbeliever is a person who hears the truth, then rejects the truth. That's right. That's a disbeliever. Then we have our lost found brothers and sisters who haven't heard the truth at all. They different from a disbeliever. They the ones who just haven't heard or haven't accepted. But a disbeliever is one who hears the truth, then he rejects the truth. This week, once again, we had our favorite person, Mr. Bus Stop Bishop Nathaniel Ray, he was on a show because the bus stops is getting real popular now that this Jew stuff is popular in the media. So every time, the more popular that Bishop Nathaniel gets, the more he disrespects Muslims. More and more media attention he gets, the more and more he disrespects Muslims. So this one was done by this brother. It's called Go Black to Africa. It's called Intense Interview with Bishop Nathaniel, who is IUIC, Children of Israel, and is God black. So once again, he taking the teachings of the messenger, adding to his thing, plus he disrespected. Then we have another one, because this one has 88,000 views in 4 days. Because his views that he gets for his videos, he get thousands of views sometimes in an hour. He get a lot of views. So this particular video that he hating on Muslims, and he hating on, because another thing about him, he designed or formed IUIC to be directly against the messenger. Everything, because I watch them all the time. Every single thing the messenger taught us, everything, from us being black to Asiatic, it's all that. They on a daily basis teach against that every week. They disrespect Muslims every week. So you had this. Then you had another video. This one is talking about, look, Israelite unity outside of Barclay Center. This one, he said the black man as a race has never seen the kind of unity that they getting under the Israelites. Never has the black race seen unity. Never, he says. So we have Muslims who just sit around and don't say nothing. So we want to talk about a little bit of blast from the past. We want to talk about two Muslims that you can go and research. The first Muslim is Sister Dorothy Wadad. She had an article in the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, 1971. Comes from the November 19th, 1971, Muhammad Speaks. Because the one thing about Lewis, he destroyed everybody's understanding of the messenger. Because we believe now that just because you black, you disrespect the messenger, you disrespect Islam, we supposed to give you this extra love. Because you are a black brother. We supposed to just show you all it. You gotta love your brother more than he hates you. That ain't the teachings of the messenger.
No, sir. It's not.
This is Sister Dorothy Wood, and what makes this so good is you got this hypocrite right next to her article, acting like he's so down with the message. So in Sister Dorothy Wadad's article, because it's a long article, it's called Those Who Oppose Messenger Muhammad. Because I bring these papers because I want the world to know the Muslims with the messenger would have mopped the sidewalk with Bishop Nathaniel and all them Israelites. That's the understanding that I want everybody to have. Because this hypocrite Louis Farrakhan is on his way out. He don't have too much longer to go. So when we are not with him no more, we not patterning ourselves after this hypocrite at all.
Right.
At all. So that's why I bring these papers. Because I want people to think that I'm lying. I want you to think I'm stretching it. So you can go, because Muslims with the messenger was way more outspoken than we are. MGT used to write articles. In her article, she told the hypocrites and disbelievers, she said it's the believers who you need to be worrying about. She said you better be careful in how you talk about Messenger Muhammad. Yes, sir. She said we the believers love him. She said, do you think that we will sit idly by and allow you to dishonor the messenger, Allah, and the Muslims? This is what a MGT said. And she had her article fills the page. We don't have time to read it all. But then you got this hypocrite right next to her article. It says Minister Louis Farrakhan at Harlem's Black Solidarity Rally, as he openly challenged black leaders who, due to envy, jealousy, and selfish ego, refused to submit to the wise leadership of Messenger Muhammad. Because when the messenger was alive, if you wasn't following the messenger, you was wrong. That's how it was. You had believers in the messenger. You had sympathizers with the messenger, and everybody else was wrong. That's how they taught Islam. When you go read this, it wasn't no, oh, just because you talking black. If you was not a follower of the messenger, you was wrong. Care what you was talking about. If you was a Black Panther, you was wrong. If you was a Pan-Africanist, you was wrong. If you was with Marcus Garvey, you was wrong. If you was not with the messenger, you was wrong. Then you had sympathizers. Those who didn't accept, but they gave the messenger all the credit. I recognize he got the plan. He the man for the black man. Those people, Muslims, okay. But you had those who rejected the messenger. Those was the ones Muslims fought against. Because bust out Bishop Nathaniel, he said that never was a time where we had this kind of unity that they had with them. This is how easy it would be to disprove that. This is just two that I'm going to use. Just showing how easy it is to disprove this. This comes from the April 7th, 1956 Pittsburgh Carrier. Because the messenger, bust out Bishop, he says that he been doing this Israelite stuff since 1990. So this year would make 32 years for him. The messenger, when he began to get media coverage, was in 1959 when the Hate That Hate Produce came out. So the messenger was around 28 years when he got media coverage. When the messenger had media coverage on the Hate That Hate Produce, they said the messenger owned restaurants, supermarkets, department stores. He had farmland. He had all that in 28 years. When they talk about bust out Bishop Nathaniel, they don't talk about what he owns. They don't talk about the effect that he had on the black man. That's simple and easy way that we could defend the messenger. Because in the Pittsburgh Carrier, in 1956, when the messenger was in Chicago for less than 24 years, this is what it says. It says an example of tremendous success garnered in less than 24 years is the massive empire of Muhammad's Temple of Islam #2, located in Hyde Park area of the city's Great South Side. This success, which encircles numerous material holdings and a huge following, lists a temple, university, restaurant, bakery, and a grocery, and market, plus an apartment building, with an estimated value running into many hundreds of thousands of dollars. He said many hundreds of thousands of dollars. In 1956, $100,000 was worth $1 million in today's money. It said in 1956, the messenger had an apartment building and his holdings was worth many hundreds of thousands of dollars. So many millions of dollars in Chicago. So how can Bishop Nathan say that with all these Muslims? Because Louis Farrakhan is a hypocrite. Because this is our holy month of Ramadan. We're not supposed to quarrel. We're not supposed to argue. But the messenger left the door open for us to be able to fight. The messenger didn't say we couldn't fight. He just said that we're not supposed to argue and quarrel with our people. So the messenger, in this article, the messenger has many hundreds of thousands of dollars. Then it goes on to say, it says the grocery and immaculate establishment is stocked with name brand foodstuffs, carries fresh vegetables and fruits and kosher meats, including beef, lamb, fowl, and fish. The chicken and cows are raised on the Muslim 200-acre farm in White Cloud, Michigan. The modern bakery produces 3 types of bread: cakes, cookies, and pies. The ovens has a holding capacity of 50 loaves and 50 pies at the same time. Muslims are employed as bakers, salesmen, and truck drivers. This all the messenger had in 1956 in less than 24 years. And this is another thing that Bus Stop Bishop and these fake black Hebrew Israelites should understand. The Nation of Islam has been around for 92 years now. Because I be online arguing with them sometimes. I do. They be talking about, y'all Muslims is played out. We the new thing now. Y'all need to just get out the way. That's what they say about Muslims. Because they see their thing is rising now. They getting real popular in the media. But what they don't understand is like in the book of Job. The devil saw Job. He wasn't impressed with Job. He saw the riches that Job had. He like, man, you got your fence around Job. You ain't doing nothing to him. Take that fence away from Job and he'll curse you to your face. So God said, have you tried my servant Job? So when the devil tried Job, that's when he saw that Job was a faithful follower of Allah.
That's right.
It's until you be tried.
Yes.
The messenger was tried. He was tried. The Nation of Islam has suffered many setbacks.
Yes.
As the messenger said, this is a setback. This hypocrite Louis Farrakhan is a setback.
Yes, sir.
This hypocrite been a 40-year setback
Yes, sir.
for the Nation of Islam. But we had many setbacks. In 1935, when the messenger went on the run, that was a setback. In 1942, when the messenger went to prison for 5 years, that was a setback.
Yes.
In 1964, when Malcolm X turned hypocrite, they thought that was going to destroy the Nation of Islam. They thought that the Nation of Islam was going to divide against each other and self-destruct. That was a huge setback. But the messenger said, I've been crushed before.
That's what he said.
What he said, I've been crushed before. He saw it all before. He said, I've been crushed before. Letting us know. The messenger said, there will be hard trials are necessary to establish truth. He said when he was on the run, he didn't say it was a couple of close calls. He said there were plenty of close calls. That's what he used to say. Because the Nation of Islam has been tried. This is just a setback. Bust out Bishop Nathaniel is a setback. That's all it is. Because when you look at the messenger and his success, when he was on the scene for 30, he runs circles around Bishop Nathaniel. That's why I can't stand listening to him. I'm going to be honest. The more I listen to Bishop Nathaniel, the more I hate Louis Farrakhan. I'm not talking about the more I hate him, the more I love reading that history of Malcolm X. Because they didn't have to tolerate hypocrites with the message. And that's why Louis changed the Nation of Islam. He knew how the messenger taught us to fight the hypocrites and disbelievers. The messenger that's why I tell people, go read the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. The messenger had on the front page of the Muhammad Speaks news. Now, the nation, Malcolm X had got killed. All that stuff, they had his head rolling in the paper. The brother who was with Malcolm told the messenger he wouldn't last a week. The messenger put his picture in the paper. Had wanted at the end the two brothers that was with him. A week after Malcolm was assassinated. Savior's Day, the messenger told him, when we find you. He didn't say if. He said, when we find you. He said, we will entertain you. Yes, sir. And it will be an entertainment that you will never forget. That's what the messenger told this brother a week. No, that was Savior's Day. So Malcolm died. It was February 25th, I think. It was sometime in 1965. This brother threatened the messenger. Messenger told him, when we find you, we will entertain you. Then I think it was in the next week after Savior's Day, his picture was in the paper. That's when it was. It was after Savior's Day. But the messenger, after he said that, he put his picture in the paper and put wanted at the top. That was that's why I tell, go read the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. The messenger wouldn't hide nothing from nobody. So then that next year, in 1966, the messenger had on the front page of the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, fighting in self-defense. He had all of the verses in the Holy Quran that talk about fighting is good for you. So then the messenger told the Muslims, he said, y'all like to be soft and kind to the hypocrites. That's what he said on all that you read, because I was born, and we're going to get to the subject. I'm just going off. I was born in this generation loving Farrakhan like everybody else. I used to listen to him talk all that the messenger said, leave Malcolm alone stuff too. But when I started reading the Muhammad Speaks, I'm like, ain't no way in the world the messenger could have told, when he's saying this on the front page. Right. He got his head rolled. When you read them papers, them brothers was telling you when Malcolm got killed. Let's even go even better than that. Go to the January 5th, 1965 Muhammad Speaks newspaper. When the messenger says, I am no longer to suffer the slander from the hypocrites. He told you step by step how Malcolm was going to be destroyed. Yes, he did. Step by, he said he ain't going to find a sincere free. He said them same guns that he want to use on us, Allah will turn them around and use them on him. Yes, he did. Talking about that's why I tell, go read them papers. If you think the messenger would be sitting around letting bust out Bishop Nathaniel and these chicken-hearted Israelites disrespect Master Farad Muhammad and him. You out your mind. Brothers would be mopping the sidewalk with them all over this country. I'm just telling you for real. Because if we talking about we want to rebuild the work of the messenger, we got to know what the work of the messenger was. All this sitting around it, what that ain't it. Last point, then we're going to get on the subject. In 1958, just to show you Muslims, in 1958, in the Pittsburgh Carrier, here in Detroit, Muslims was starting it with the police. So the messenger, it said, had to make a rare appearance and leave Chicago to come to Detroit because of all the incidents that the FOI was having with the police. We talking about Muslims. We not talking about this hypocrite. We not talking about this soft, kind, gentle. No, we talking about Muslims fighting for the cause. Yes. So the messenger, he came to Detroit. He told these brothers, look, I ain't saying y'all need to be cowards. That ain't what I'm saying. But he said, you don't run Detroit. You don't own Detroit. You got to obey the police. He said, you got to obey all those in authority over you. The messenger constantly had to explain to brothers how to fight. Because brothers would go and start in 1958. So what do you think Muslims would do to him or them Israelites if they heard him disrespecting the messenger? I'm just leaving it up to your imagination. But I'm telling you where you can read and find the answer. One more example I gotta say. One of my favorite ministers, Minister Jeremiah Shabazz. He one of my favorites. Yes, sir. Because he would get you together about the messenger. So in 1974, it was a Christian preacher in Philadelphia who was saying that the messenger and the Muslims was selling dope and was a part of this black mafia stuff. This was back when you had Muslims in Philly. So Jeremiah, because they used to do the old my black brother stuff too, but it was a little different for us. The old my black brother stuff then was a warning for you. So Jeremiah, in a public press conference, told Muhammad, his name was Muhammad Kenyatta. He said, look, because he was tired of playing games with him. He said, look, them Muslims who you slandering, he said, they not going to like to hear you trying to connect them with crime and selling dope. He said, in the way they going to handle you, he said, I won't be responsible. He said, that's not a threat. That's a warning. And he just left it at the, go look it up yourself. Go to newspapers.com. Go to the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. A week after that interview, one of the people who was with Muhammad Kenyatta, he made a public apology to the messenger and the Muslims. He said, when I first was with Muhammad Kenyatta, he said, we started all these programs trying to clean up the community. He said, the white man started to come and give us money. He said, I told Muhammad, we should not have them in our bid. We should clean up our own community. He said, but Muhammad Kenyatta wanted to work with the devil. So he said, then they started giving them more money. Then he said, Muhammad Kenyatta started slandering the Muslims. He said he told them, I seen these Muslims in this community for decades cleaning up the black man. He was like, you shouldn't be talking about them like that in the public. Right. But he said he wouldn't stop. So this brother left Muhammad Kenyatta apologized to the messenger, told him he was sorry. He ain't with Muhammad Kenyatta. That showed you about all this just because they black. It was a lot of black people who hated the messenger. Yes. It was a lot of black people who was enemies to the messenger. The messenger had an army. And that's what we're going to talk about. Probably ain't going to be able to talk about everything I wanted to. But let's talk about Muhammad's army. Let's compare Muhammad's army to this chicken-hearted, weak, punk, coward army that Bishop Nathaniel got. And we talking about documented history. Let's talk about Carlo Gambino, because that's one of my favorites. Why is Carlo Gambino one of my favorites? He one of my favorites not because Carlo Gambino was weak. I don't want nobody to think that just because Carlo Gambino told his people to leave the Muslims alone, he was weak. That ain't the case at all. Carlo Gambino was the most powerful mob boss in history. That's what they say about him. They say he was the boss of all bosses. I did a whole lot of research on Carlo Gambino because I like mafia movies. I like The Godfather. Like Casino, Goodfellas. I watched all that before I was a Muslim. So when I found out about Muhammad's army, God's army, the army that Master Farad Muhammad came here and set up. Master Farad Muhammad is the one who set up the FOI class. Master Farad Muhammad is the one who set up the MGT class. It was God in person. Master Farad Muhammad came to Detroit. Black Bottom. Yes, sir. When Black Bottom, Detroit was full of gangsters. Because the one thing we need to understand about this punk coward Israelite army is they dealing with the Jews. The messenger told us about the Jews. The messenger said, some devils are better than others. That's what we got to remember. He told us about Jews. The messenger said that the Jews never was instrumental in lynching and doing all that brutality against the black man. He said they never was that. He said that the Christian white man, because the messenger said the white man is the devil anyway. Right. But he said some are better than others. So this is what you can go and research. This is civil rights workers. This devil's name was Andrew Goodman. This devil's name was Michael Schwerner. This brother's name was James Cheney. The Ku Klux Klan killed all three of them. Because one of the things the Ku Klux Klan hated about the Jews, they felt like they was too soft with niggas. That's when Master Farad Muhammad was in Detroit. When it wasn't controlled by the Jews. It was controlled by the Italian mafia. The mafia controlled Chicago. They controlled New York. And the Ku Klux Klan controlled the South. That's how it was when the messenger came up. He wasn't dealing with the Jews. The Jews already was pretending to be the black man's friend. When all the rest of the white people was trying to be as hardcore and as brutal and heinous to the black man. So the messenger. In the 1957 New York Amsterdam News, this is what the messenger said. He says, today, the white race, the blacks' worst enemies, has planned to make a last try of destroying the black man by pretending to be their friends and allow intermarriage. That's why you see this big, huge paradigm shift. In 1954, the white man started doing what he called desegregation. The messenger was writing articles letting us know the white man is the devil.
That's right.
But he got a plan to take all black people to hell. And his last trick is to pretend to be the black man's friend and allow in a marriage. This is what the messenger was writing in the 50s. So in the 1950s, the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, that's when the Italian mafia and the Ku Klux Klan ruled. Everybody be talking all this talk about the Jews today. But all these fake tough cowards, like Bishop Nathan, you need to be happy that the Jews is the ones you playing this fake tough stuff with. Because the thing that you will notice about a real army, when the messenger, when the FOI and the mafia had this dispute, they never talked about it at all. The people who came out with it was the New York Times. The messenger didn't have 1,000 FOI march past Carlo Gambino's house. He didn't do that like Bus Stop be doing. That's that fake tough stuff. And Muslims used to talk against the civil rights movement because they used to think they was doing something by marching. And Malcolm X it was called Message to the Grassroots. In that article, he explained the difference between the Negro Revolution and a Black Revolution. Because the civil rights leaders were doing exactly what Bus Stop Bishop doing, marching. They thought they was in the revolution. We in the revolution, join the revolution. So the messenger had an article in the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. It was called Words from a Negro Dictionary. It got militant. And it shows, well, let's go to courageous. This is what the Negro thought courageous meant. Letting the white man pour hot coffee on him while he in the sitting. That's the Negro Dictionary. Because Bus Stop Bishop Nathaniel and them chicken-hearted Israelites, they got a Negro Dictionary. They say they God's army. But you ain't bust a grape in your whole history. That's a Negro Dictionary. Because when the white man heard Kyrie start talking all that, I got an army behind me stuff, he said, okay, nigga, let's see about your army. He suspended Kyrie for 8 games with no play, with no pay. Once he made Kyrie submit, this on YouTube, it say Kyrie Irving's reaction to Hebrew Israelite support at Barclay Center. And this show you that Negro Dictionary stuff. They say they army just because they got thousands of them marching outside of the Barclay. We are army. But the white man, while that army was outside, he said, all right, nigga, your army outside. They got Israel United in Christ on their shirts. How you feel about them now? Because you was a tough nigga a couple weeks ago. Talking about you got an army behind you. You see now them weak cowards can't do nothing for you. Messenger said, success does not depend on numbers. When the messenger had that incident with Carlo Gambino, the street brothers say, what's understood don't need to be explained. Messenger ain't got to explain nothing to Carlo. He already know the messenger got an army. So Carlo Gambino know what to do. The white man say, nigga, how you feel about your army outside? Your army out there. You want to still be the tough guy talking about you got an army? We done took 8 games pay from you. We can take 8 more. So Kyrie, he said, I want to focus on the game. To let you know, the white man knows real power. The white man knew the message. Let's talk about this incident with Carlo Gambino. You can go to the New York Times, June 14, 1969. It's on page 16. It starts on the first page, but when it talks about Brother Matthew Shoemate, it starts on 16. And it's under the, because it's the whole page. Because it was a wiretap of the mafia's meeting that came out in court. It's under the headline called "Fear of War with Blacks Saved a Man's Life." Because the messenger, because like the street brother said, what's understood don't need to be explained. The messenger and the Muslims didn't even know that Carlo Gambino was planning on killing his brother. Let's read the article. It says the FBI account appeared in the January 14, 1969 edition of the New York Times. It said Rosario, whatever his name was, on May 24th, 1965, was assaulted with a shovel by Matthew Shoemate. A Newark, New Jersey, NOI, Nation of Islam, the black Muslims consider themselves a sect of the Nation of Islam, and suffered broken ribs and a collapsed lung. Rosario was hospitalized until May 26 of 1966. Rosario and Shoemate had a fight at a construction job in the Elizabeth, New York area. Now this when the mafia was in control. It wasn't the Jews. It wasn't the ones who was already pretending to be the black man's friend. They was already joining the NAACP. They was already a part of the Christian or funding the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and SNCC. That was the Jews. That's what they was doing. But the Italian mafia controls construction. They control a lot of stuff in these cities in the north. So the brother who was the Muslim got into a fight with him. He fought him like the messenger told us to fight. The messenger said, fight him in the name of Allah. He said, show him no mercy. Right. Because they will show you no mercy. That's an army. Yes. Messenger ain't had to go in front of the Barclay with 1,000 FOI. This was one brother. One brother who got into a fight with Carlo Gambino people and put him in the hospital for a year. These are the documented facts. So the article goes on. It says, whoever these people name it, the person's name, his family was initially infuriated by Shoemate's actions due to Rosario's father, Frank, being a family member. So in this article, it say he was initially infuriated. What stopped him? Was it he saw 1,000 FOI marching out inside it? No. He knew he was a Muslim. That's why I say he was initially infuriated. Until he found out he was a part of Muhammad's army. Yes, sir. They understand because the messenger put how we were supposed to fight the devil in the paper. It seemed like every time a Muslim would get into a fight, the messenger would have an article about fighting. Because the thing about an army that bus stop Bishop Nathaniel don't understand. Sometimes brothers in the army die. Sometimes brothers in the army get paralyzed. Sometimes brothers in the army go to jail. Because being in Muhammad's army ain't mean you wasn't going to die. It didn't mean you wasn't going to jail. Because a lot of times these brothers fight the police, disarm the police, do all that, but now you got to go to court. That's a part of being in the army. The messenger had the FOI fund set aside so if you got in trouble fighting for the cause, they will have a lawyer for you. That's armed. We ain't talking about marching down the street singing songs. I'm telling you, I can't stand watching these Israelites. I'm going to be real. Because I know for a fact them FOI would mop the street with them. it would be fights all over this country. But Louis Farrakhan make you think that the message will be over. Another example. Jeremiah Shabazz again. We're going to get back to this. In 1970, the Black Panther Party tried to sneak this the messenger like Bus Stop Bishop doing. This Jeremiah again. And another thing about Army. Jeremiah got into a fight with them and they say nothing. It wasn't in the paper. What happened was the Black Panthers wrote an article about the fight. So then Jeremiah responded to him. Because fighting was a part of Islam. They wasn't doing like Bus Stop Bishop trying to get all this media. We want to show the media after the brother fight the person in the mafia. Then we put in the paper on the front page. Look at what this brother did. No, because they got an army too. And when you got real power, you just ain't cut like that. Because it's already understood. You don't need all the media coverage. So, Brother Jeremiah, what the Panthers did, they was having a meeting honoring Malcolm X. So they decided to ask a junior FOI to come and speak. That's sneak dissing. You know what the Muslims feel about Malcolm. He a hypocrite. You already know how we feel. So now you going to try to invite the junior FOI thinking he going to be like Lewis talking about, oh, Brother Malcolm. No. So the brother told the brother Jeremiah them. So Jeremiah them said, okay, we all going to go. So you had FOI in there. So the junior FOI was calling Malcolm X all kind of hypocrites with the Panthers and several militant groups in there. So the part of the thing that I like, the Panthers in their paper was talking about brothers was throwing chairs at women and children. Jeremiah was like, we wasn't throwing chairs. He was like, the Panthers was armed. He said them chairs all we had to use to defend ourselves. Because they was talking about, when you read the two articles, Jeremiah wasn't apologizing to them. They was sounding like, look at what they did to us. They came to our meeting. Jeremiah let him know. He said, look, I'm going to tell all you Panthers. And all, it's in the April 1970 Muhammad speech. I don't remember the day. But I believe it was April. The Panthers jump was in March. Jeremiah told them Panthers and all the rest of them, he said, if y'all want to get along with us, he gave it to them straight up. Because he let it be known in his article, if this how y'all want this to be, y'all going to keep sneak this and that. He said, because we have more love for our living messenger than y'all have for a dead hypocrite. Right. He wasn't in there like, oh, well, you know that was. No, he said, if y'all want to get along with us. And he named all the groups that was in there. And they was the militant armed groups. He said, y'all got to cease and desist with these physical and verbal attacks against us. Because when you used to have a verbal attack, that was the same as a physical attack with the messenger. But let's get back to Carlo. Because another one that I wanted to talk about, we ain't going to have time. This another article. This was written by Gangsters Inc. This is a mafia website. It says how Muhammad Ali took the heavyweight boxing championship belt from the mafia. Then they got this mafia dude who was a hitman, who was Sonny Liston's manager. This how the white man used to be before the Jews. You couldn't play the fake tough nigga stuff we play now. Like Kanye West, the fake tough nigga. I'm about to tell everybody about the Jews and they... No! You think... I was reading this article. Sonny Liston was bigger than Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali said that when he fought Sonny Liston, he was actually frightened. All that talking he said, he was like, I was actually frightened because he said, I never fought nobody that big. They say Sonny Liston, as in the article say, he got fresh with one of these mafia people. They ain't like the Jews. All the Jews want you to do is apologize. They even said that Carlo Gambino, how they used to get down. They said one of these mafia people, they was at some restaurant. The mafia person got drunk and said something insulting to Carlo Gambino. They said they found his body inside of concrete. That's how they said when Sonny Liston got fresh with this mafia dude, they said he grabbed one of them fire axes out the wall and was running at Sonny Liston about to hit him with an axe. He wasn't big as Sonny Liston, but this how the white man got down. When the messenger, you couldn't play the fake tough nigga stuff. You wasn't intimidating no mafia about who them niggas is out. Tony, Joey, go get them niggas from in front of our establishment like that. They wasn't playing them kind of games. But they all recognize the message. Because no matter what bust stop Bishop Nathaniel say, the history of the Nation of Islam is documented. The Nation of Islam under the message had some of the most notorious white men afraid of their FOI. Because another incident the messenger had, in my close, was with J.B. Stone. Because the messenger had temples in the north that was honeycombed with all these mob people. Then he had temples in the south with the Ku Klux Klan. So J.B. Stoner in the south. You had Carlo Gambino in the north. Then you had J.B. Stoner in the south. So J.B., you can read it in the Pittsburgh Carrier. He threatened the messenger. He told the messenger when they come to Atlanta, he was going to push Islam into the sea. Go read them Pittsburgh Carriers of them Muslims responding to J.B. Stoner. It was... Anyway, the messenger wrote to J.B. He told J.B., and I'm paraphrasing, he said, if you attack my followers in Atlanta, he said, Allah will baptize you in other than peace. Because the thing I like about the message, when you read the history of Carlo Gambino, and you read the history of Carlo Gambino was the Elijah Muhammad of the mafia stuff. I like him. They say he wasn't flashy. They showed his house. He had a little modest old house. They say he only used violence when necessary. He didn't like all the media stuff. When they showed Carlo Gambino, he had a regular plain old suit on. They say he used to mingle with the men. He was the Elijah Muhammad of the mafia stuff. The messenger. He never really got, only time I really heard the messenger get fiery was when that brother threatened him over the radio. He ain't like that at all. But other than that, the messenger very rarely talked really hardcore to a person. But the messenger told JB straight up. He said, if you touch one of my followers in it, Allah will baptize you in other than peace. So then you see in the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, it said Elijah Muhammad invades Atlanta.
Yes, sir.
Bust stop Bishop Nathaniel and them chicken-hearted coward Israelites. I'll talk to them. I be online telling them, y'all ain't Buster Great. They say, well, that ain't for us to do. It's for the Most High. See, that's that Negro dictionary stuff. If you're an army, you shouldn't say you are army. You should say the Most High is an army. Right. You ain't an army. If the messenger said one time, he said, we afraid to bleed. He was talking about how we shed all our blood for the white man. But we won't shed nothing for ourselves. It was the messenger. Go read the Muhammad Speaks newspapers in the 60s, like in 63, 64. When the messenger used to have them articles called The Right to Self-Defense. The messenger was the one telling the black man, fight back.
Yes.
Stop letting this devil kick you around. The messenger revived black manhood. Well, brothers and sisters, we don't want to prolong the time. So I leave you as I came in the Nation of Islam's greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Enjoying the show? Help keep us on the air. 313-371-7033. That's 313-371-7033 to make a donation.
Brothers and sisters, we rise for prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent and Merciful. Soul Master's dead gentlemen in which we now live. The alone do we serve, and the alone seeks for thine help and aid. O Allah, please guide us on the right path. Path of those upon whom thou spill thy favors. Not on the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down. Nor those who go astray after they heard thy teachings. Say he Allah is one God. Allah is he of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He begetteth not, nor is he begotten, there is none like him. And I bear witness that none deserve to be served worth the praise besides Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is our true servant and last apostle. Ameen. Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us not to do anything to anyone that we wouldn't have done it to ourselves, and treat everybody right, even the devil. Assalamu alaikum.
What the black man and woman needs to know about the nation, about the world, about themselves. Muhammad Speaks It. To order your 12-issue subscription to Muhammad Speaks newspaper, 313-371-7033. 313-371-7033. Kareem Bean Pie is the grand champion of all bean pies. The rich flavor and smooth texture takes this pie to a whole new level of delicious. One bite and you'll understand why people all over the country call daily to order Kareem Bean Pie. 313-371-7033. That's 313-371-7033. Kareem Bean Pie.
This bean pie is delicious.
Muhammad Speaks presents Messenger Elijah Muhammad's Teachings by Minister Khalil Shabazz every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. at Muhammad's Temple of Islam, 12609 East McNichols Road in Detroit.